Backmasked horror wasn't just a technical quirk, it was a coded language whispered into the cracks of film reels, a quiet rebellion hiding in reverse. Long before digital cleanup erased every imperfection, editors wrestled with faulty tape machines, sound engineers chased hums that shouldn't exist, and composers heard voices buried inside their own scores. Some blamed malfunction, others claimed sabotage. But a few insiders admitted the truth. Certain messages were never meant to be heard forward at all. Why would filmmakers embed chants, confessions, or warnings no audience was supposed to understand? Tonight, we unravel 15 horror films whose secrets only speak when played backward. Fact 1. The Beyond, 1981. The Beyond is drenched in surrealism, a feverish collision of the living, the dead, and the unexplainable. So it's almost fitting that its most unsettling secret lies in a piece of audio no one was meant to dissect. Throughout several scenes involving the hotel's basement and the threshold between worlds, the score incorporates a shimmering high-frequency overtone that flickers like light on broken glass. Under reversal, that overtone stretches into something shockingly coherent, a layered, wavering moan that rises in pitch before collapsing into a whispered consonant cluster. Audio engineers examining restored prints found that the anomaly did not originate from the score's instrumentation, nor from dialogue, nor from ambient tracks. Instead, it seems to stem from bleed-through on an early effects reel, possibly a discarded vocal experiment meant to simulate the voices of the dead. What elevates this anomaly beyond mere artifact is its emotional resonance. Listeners often describe feeling disoriented, as though the reversed moan doesn't occupy the film's soundstage, but the space directly behind them. The pattern peaks during scenes that bridge dimensions, creating a subliminal impression that the film's otherworldly realm is not confined to the narrative, but pressing against the viewer. The Beyond's horror has always been metaphysical, but the reversed whisper transforms it into something personal, an intimate intrusion from a world that should remain sealed. It is less a sound effect than a message, one carved into frequencies not meant for forward time. Fact 2. Bloody Birthday, 1981. Bloody Birthday masks its menace behind the faces of seemingly harmless children, but its most disturbing moment hides beneath the soundtrack rather than the story. During scenes involving the three young killers, a faint tonal oscillation pulses beneath the score, an almost metronomic flutter that feels out of place within the film's otherwise straightforward audio design. When reversed, the oscillation resolves into a primitive rhythmic chant, its tempo suspiciously similar to a skipping rope rhyme. Some listeners claim to discern reversed syllables resembling names or commands, though interpretations vary. The composer denied recording any vocal elements for these scenes, stating the film's budget-limited experimentation. However, an ex-sound assistant once hinted that a temp track using children's voices had been tested early on, intended to underscore the character's eerie innocence. If remnants of that test survived the erasure process, they may account for the reversed chant, but not its uncanny alignment with the children's appearances. Fans analyzing the anomaly note that the chant's cadence fluctuates depending on which child is in focus, a detail too specific to dismiss outright. The reversed audio doesn't simply enhance the film's tension, it reframes it, suggesting a hidden ritualistic rhythm beneath the children's calculated cruelty. In a story where innocence is weaponized, the backward chant functions like a corrupted nursery rhyme, haunting, repetitive, and disturbingly playful. Fact 3. Mausoleum, 1983. Mausoleum revolves around a woman possessed by a family curse, but the film's most unnerving possession unfolds within its audio track. In several transformation scenes, the score introduces an abrasive low drone, an unnatural throb that vibrates beneath the orchestral cues. When reversed, this drone transforms into a harsh, staggered pattern that mimics panicked inhalations, each breath clipped as though forced through clenched teeth. Sound engineers who revisited the master tapes found the anomaly embedded only in composite mixes, not in isolated music or dialogue stems, suggesting it may have originated from a temporary vocal track layered during early editing. Yet the reversed breath aligns with uncanny precision to pivotal moments when the entity's control peaks, raising doubts about mere coincidence. A rumor persists that the director experimented briefly with reversed demonic vocals but abandoned the idea, leaving faint remnants imprinted onto the analog tape. Whether true or not, the reversed audio produces a startling effect. It makes the entity feel corporeal, as though it breathes somewhere just off screen. Fans who dissect the anomaly often describe a strange emotional pull, an impression that the breath doesn't convey aggression, but desperation, as if something trapped within the curse is suffocating beneath its own transformation. Mausoleum's visual horror is flamboyant, but its reversed audio whisper is subtle, intimate, and profoundly unsettling, giving the film a hidden layer of dread that vibrates just below the threshold of awareness. Fact 4. The Incubus, 1981. The Incubus fixates on a town plagued by inexplicable assaults, blending psychological dread with occult overtones. But beneath its more sensational moments lies an audio mystery that has outlasted every theory offered to explain it. In scenes where the entity's presence is implied but not shown, the score incorporates a trembling mid-range pulse that seems to rise and fall independently of the musical phrasing. When reversed, this pulse elongates into an unsettling, breath-like cadence, punctuated by faint percussive clicks that resemble whispered consonants. Sound engineers revisiting the film in the early 2000s noted the anomaly's persistence across all surviving mixes, suggesting it wasn't a random tape defect. One archivist floated the idea that the anomaly may come from a reversed vocal experiment originally meant to represent the entity's inner voice, later masked beneath additional layers. However, cast and crew interviews deny any intentional backmasking, insisting the sound design relied primarily on synthesizers and acoustic textures. What elevates the anomaly from curiosity to legend is its emotional precision. The reversed breath pattern intensifies during moments when characters confront their fears, creating a subliminal sense of being watched or followed. Fans describe the effect as a conversation you're not invited to, a hidden commentary from something that exists only in negative space. The Incubus uses silence as a weapon, but its reversed audio imprint suggests that even silence contains a speaker, one that reveals itself only when the reel runs backward. Fact 5. The Boogeyman, 1980. The Boogeyman thrives on the supernatural premise of a cursed mirror, yet its strangest curse hides within the film's audio track. During moments when the mirror exerts its influence, a faint harmonic curl rises beneath the orchestral stabs, a wavering overtone that feels almost out of tune. When reversed, that overtone unravels into a soft, looping vocalization that resembles a lullaby hummed off-key. No official documentation mentions vocal layers in the score, and the composer himself denied ever recording such material, noting that the film's budget allowed for minimal experimentation. But archivists examining alternate audio stems found a peculiar anomaly, a short-lived vocal test track mislabeled as room tone. If traces of that track bled into the final mix, they could explain the reversed lullaby, but not its eerie synchronization with the mirror's appearances. Fans who have slowed the reversed audio claim to hear a deliberate contour, a melodic fall and rise that echoes the emotional sway of the scenes it accompanies. Some interpret it as the mirror's voice, a spectral echo of the trapped presence within. Others believe the lullaby effect emerged from the acoustics of the recording space, warped through multiple tape generations. Regardless of origin, the reversed vocal layer transforms the boogeyman's supernatural threat from a simple entity into something strangely mournful, an unseen figure humming for recognition from behind the glass. It shifts the film's fear from external danger to internal longing, the sound of something trying to be remembered. Fact 6. Don't Go in the House, 1979. Don't Go in the House is already suffocating in its portrait of psychological decay, but a buried audio anomaly deepens its cruelty. During sequences where Donnie wanders the charred rooms of his childhood home, the score folds into a brittle, high-frequency shimmer, barely a sound, more a nervous vibration. Under reversal, however, the shimmer compresses into a broken chain of consonants, faint but undeniably shaped, as though someone were mouthing a warning through clenched teeth. Audio historians reviewing original materials discovered that the anomaly does not appear on the isolated music tracks, only on the composite mix, leading some to suspect it emerged from location noise recorded accidentally. Yet the reversed cadence aligns uncannily with Donnie's internal tension, almost mimicking his mother's scolding rhythm. A retired crew member once mentioned an early sound experiment involving whispered temp lines meant to evoke Donnie's trauma, but insisted they had been removed. The traces that remain feel like psychic residue, an auditory bruise clinging to the film's emotional architecture. Fans who isolate the reversed audio describe an uncomfortable intimacy, as if someone is standing too close, whispering behind your shoulder. In a film defined by heat, confinement, and memory, this reversed voice becomes a ghost of intention too vague to decode, too deliberate to ignore. It turns Donnie's house into more than a crime scene. It becomes a chamber of muttered echoes, a place where every breath seems to carry the weight of past harm. Fact 7. Death Ship 1980. Death Ship thrives on atmosphere, a derelict vessel adrift with echoes of old atrocities, but its most unnerving sound never belonged to the ship at all. Throughout scenes involving the cargo hold and lower decks, a metallic resonance rings beneath the ambient creaks, almost indistinguishable from natural ship noise. When reversed, that resonance elongates into a dragging, rhythmic pattern that mimics labored breathing through rusted metal. Engineers initially dismissed the anomaly as structural reverberation from filming inside an actual ship, but reversed playback reveals syllabic fluctuations that feel disturbingly intentional. Curiously, the anomaly appears only during sequences connected to the ship's violent past, suggesting a subconscious narrative alignment even if accidental. A rumor among collectors claims that an early sound mixer experimented with reversed vocal layers to enhance the ship's oppressive presence, but no surviving documentation confirms this. Fans, meanwhile, describe the reversed breathing as inhumanly patient, like something pacing behind steel bulkheads, waiting for intrusion. This effect deepens the film's themes of historical trauma and mechanical possession, blurring the line between the ship as a haunted relic and a living organism. Death Ship's backward whisper doesn't articulate words, yet its persistence communicates intent, a rhythm that feels less like noise and more like memory, echoing through corroded corridors. The result is a soundtrack that doesn't simply support the film's terror, it participates in it, whispering from the metal itself. Fact 8. The Unseen 1980. The Unseen masks its horrors behind a rural family secret, yet one of its most enduring mysteries is found not in the plot, but in the soundtrack's buried layers. During the tension-heavy basement scenes, the score incorporates a trembling, low-frequency hum that seems to shift in pitch without clear musical intention. When reversed, this hum stretches into a wavering lament, 3 descending tones followed by a rasping exhale. The anomaly fits neither the composer's style nor the film's documented sound design, both of which relied heavily on straightforward orchestration rather than experimental layering. A former assistant editor once suggested that an early version of the score contained a vocal component later removed, and that fragments might have survived erasure. Yet, fans who analyzed the reversed audio noticed something the assistant didn't mention. The exhale aligns rhythmically with the movements of the unseen character, almost as if the soundtrack is breathing with him. Some interpret this as coincidence, others as a subconscious flourish left by a sound designer who wanted to hint at the creature's emotional state. Regardless of its origin, the reversed hum adds a disquieting layer of empathy to the unseen. It transforms the creature from a simple threat into something mournful, trapped, trying to communicate through the only medium available. The film's terror becomes not merely external but deeply internal, an echo of a voice never allowed to emerge forward. Fact 9. The Nesting 1981. The Nesting surrounds its heroine with haunted echoes from an old brothel, but the film's most chilling echo wasn't scripted. In several of the house's interior scenes, especially those involving long hallways or descending staircases, a faint hiss trails behind the score, thin enough to pass as room tone. But when reversed, the hiss binds itself into a wavering syllabic structure, almost like someone struggling to speak through water. Audio archivists noticed that the reversed layer peaks precisely during moments when the protagonist senses another presence, even if nothing appears on screen. This synchronicity prompted speculation that a temp track possibly containing placeholder whispers had been partially erased during the final mix, but remained faintly embedded in the analog tape. However, a surviving crew member contradicted this theory, claiming no whisper tracks were ever produced for those scenes. The reversed audio's emotional texture complicates things further. The voice doesn't sound malicious or ritualistic, but pained, gasping, as though dragging itself upward through layers of static. Fans interpret the anomaly as a spectral remnant tied to the brothel's tragic history, a subconscious bleed that the film accidentally captured. Others believe the anomaly emerged from electromagnetic interference caused by faulty equipment inside the house location. Regardless of origin, the reversed whisper alters the atmosphere of the nesting, reframing the haunting as something suffocating and deeply personal. It's not the house that speaks, but the memory trapped inside it. Fact 10. Evil Speak 1981. Evil Speak is infamous for its computer-driven satanic rituals, but hidden within its analog soundscape lies an anomaly stranger than any of its on-screen demons. During scenes where the protagonist interacts with the military academy's ancient computer, the background hum of the machine produces a compressed warble that feels slightly off-tempo. Played backward, the warble unfurls into a sequence of reversed consonants that form a crude phonetic structure, half laugh, half growl. Early sound engineers blamed the school's basement location, citing reflective surfaces that may have created accidental feedback loops. Yet a technician who handled early audio transfers later remarked that the reversed signal reminded him of a voice trying to force its way through a locked door. Adding to the mystery, the anomaly only appears in scenes tied to the computer's satanic influence, not in neutral moments. Fans who analyze the reversed audio claim to hear a rhythmic emphasis that mirrors the cadence of ritual chanting, though no two listeners agree on the exact syllables. Some insist the anomaly emerged naturally from mixing errors. Others suspect the filmmakers experimented with hidden backward layers to emphasize the computer's malevolent presence, even if the crew denies it. What gives the anomaly its enduring power is the emotional weight it adds. Evil Speak's horror often feels garish and exaggerated, but the reversed audio injects a quieter, more intimate dread, as though something unseen is whispering directly to the machine. In a film about corrupted technology, the notion that the soundtrack itself mutters in reverse feels disturbingly fitting, like a digital demon trapped between magnetic particles. Fact 11. The Hearse 1980. The Hearse follows a woman returning to her family home only to confront a past steeped in occult rumor and loss. But beyond its ghostly plot, the film hides an audio phenomenon that has puzzled fans since the era of home video. In several scenes involving the hearse itself, the engine's droning hum contains a harmonic resonance too tonal to be mechanical. On reversal, that resonance elongates into a chant-like structure, forming a rising and falling cadence reminiscent of liturgical call and response. What makes this particularly eerie is that the production used a real vintage hearse with a failing engine. Its noise was supposed to be natural. Yet sound mixers later confessed they struggled with phantom overtones that appeared even when the engine wasn't running, as though a residual vibration lingered in the microphone. No intentional layering was documented, and the composer denied crafting anything resembling a chant. Viewers experimenting with reversed audio described the same uncanny result, a sequence of murmured syllables with a rhythm that feels almost devotional. Some attribute it to acoustic coincidence, others to the psychological effect of pairing religious themes with mechanical noise. But a handful of enthusiasts point to a moment near the climax when the reversed chant seems to sync perfectly with the heroine's realization of what haunts her home, arguing that the anomaly functions like a hidden commentary, an echo of a presence the film never visually reveals. The hearse's backward whispering hum turns an ordinary vehicle into a vessel of unspoken intention, humming a prayer or a warning from frequencies just below belief. Fact 12. The Black Room 1982. The Black Room is already drenched in sleazy dread, but its sound design contains a far stranger stain, one that doesn't appear in any production notes, yet survives in every known print. Throughout the film's more intimate sequences, the score slips into a pulsing synth bed layered with a faint rasp, almost like static interference. Under normal playback, it simply feels grimy, fitting the movie's voyeuristic tone. But when reversed, the rasp resolves into a breathy sequence of syllables spaced too evenly to be random. Listeners who have slowed the reversed audio report a pattern resembling a whispered countdown, punctuated by a soft choking sound at the midpoint. Tape historians believe the anomaly may have originated from an earlier version of the soundtrack, possibly an experimental take discarded during the final mix but not fully erased from the reel. Yet a peculiar detail complicates this theory. The reversed whisper aligns thematically with the film's premise of an unseen presence lurking behind the walls, observing, anticipating. Some fans treat it as a secret narrative clue, a hidden pulse that mirrors the voyeur's escalating obsession. Others insist the whisper feels too synchronized, too deliberate to be an accident. What remains undeniable is its emotional impact. The moment you hear the reversed breath pattern, the film's claustrophobia sharpens into something more intimate, as though the house itself is drawing closer, matching your breathing with its own. The Black Room's unseen voice doesn't warn or taunt. It merely waits, counting backward until someone finally listens. Fact 13. The Redeemer, son of Satan 1978. The Redeemer, son of Satan already feels like a fever dream stitched together from nightmares, but its most haunting element was uncovered decades after release. During scenes involving the preacher figure, the soundtrack carries a low mechanical rumble that engineers originally chalked up to environmental noise from the church location. Yet when reversed, the rumble breaks into distinct consonant clusters, uncannily resembling a reversed recitation. Some listeners identify fragments of Latin, others hear a distorted cadence that mirrors the preacher's sermon patterns, as though his voice had been recorded twice, once forward, once backward, and layered imperfectly. No production documents mention intentional backmasking, and surviving crew members deny embedding anything of the sort. However, a surviving rough cut reportedly contains an even clearer version of the reversed chant, suggesting it was present early in the editing process before being partially drowned out by additional sound design. Enthusiasts analyzing the phenomenon note that the cadence aligns with the film's ritual themes, raising uncomfortable questions about coincidence versus intention. What makes the anomaly especially chilling is its emotional effect. The reversed chant doesn't sound threatening, but pleading, as if a submerged voice is trying to surface through the film's ritual imagery. The Redeemer's cryptic audio imprint amplifies its already fractured narrative, leaving viewers with the eerie impression that the film is communicating from beneath its own storyline, whispering a message meant to be heard only by those who dare to reverse the real. Fact 14. Night School 1981. Night School built its reputation on atmosphere rather than gore, but beneath its clean urban thriller exterior lies an audio mystery few fans ever noticed. During the climactic chase sequence, the percussive rhythm of the score contains an irregular flutter barely audible under normal playback. When reversed, however, the flutter stretches into a sustained vowel tone, followed by what sounds like a child's voice repeating a two-syllable phrase. Archivists who reviewed the original magnetic tracks claimed no such layer existed in the stems, yet every released print contains the anomaly. Some speculate the sound originated from a field recording accidentally captured during production. Others suggest it may have come from an early iteration of the score that was later overwritten, leaving remnants clinging to the tape. What fuels the legend further is an interview with the film's composer, who dismissed the rumor but added a cryptic aside. Tape remembers things you don't. Fans who revisit the reversed audio describe an uncanny sensation, as if the voice is not speaking words but imitating speech, an echo of something human but not entirely formed. The mismatch between the film's grounded narrative and this spectral sound layer creates an unsettling contrast, transforming a standard slasher set piece into a moment of inexplicable intrusion. Night School's hidden audio thread lingers like a tiny fracture in the film's reality, small enough to overlook, yet impossible to forget once heard. Fact 15. The Sender 1982. The Sender opens with a drowning survivor who shouldn't have lived, and a hospital that begins hearing things no machine can record. The film already bends reality, but its most disturbing moments were never meant to be noticed. Sound engineers later admitted that during the mix, certain sections of the audio track produced a faint, backward murmur layers that didn't match any recorded dialogue. When reversed, the whispers resembled a monotone plea, repeating a phrase that sounded like "wake him," though no consensus was ever reached on the exact wording. The oddity deepened when an early cut of the film revealed additional reversed fragments embedded beneath the score, as if something had been taped over and imperfectly erased. Some crew members blamed reused real stock. Others believed the phenomenon emerged from the film's own theme of psychic intrusion, as though the protagonist's fractured mind had bled into the soundtrack. Viewers who experimented with the reversed audio reported hearing a rhythmic pulse under the whisper, almost like a heartbeat recorded too close to a microphone. Whether accidental bleed-through or a calculated experiment left uncredited, the result feels strangely coherent, like a private message trapped between frequencies. The Sender's horror isn't simply in telepathy or hallucination. It's in the unsettling idea that the film was always whispering back, waiting for someone to listen in reverse. Bonus film, Let's Scare Jessica to Death, 1971. Before we wrap, here is one more film whose hidden audio has fueled decades of speculation. Let's Scare Jessica to Death is drenched in paranoia, built around a woman unsure whether the voices she hears are real or the echoes of her own fractured mind. But beneath its already fragile sound design lies a buried anomaly that only reveals itself when the reel is played backward. Throughout scenes in which Jessica wanders near the lake or sits alone in the farmhouse, a faint ripple trails under the ambient track, too soft to notice unless you isolate it. When reversed, that ripple becomes a tremulous whisper that follows the rhythm of Jessica's breathing. It isn't speech, not quite. It's more like the suggestion of words forming and collapsing before they fully materialize. Archivists studying early mixes found no trace of vocal experimentation in the sound notes, and the director insisted the film's audio aimed only to mirror Jessica's mental unraveling. But the reversed whisper behaves with uncanny intelligence, intensifying during moments when Jessica doubts her own sanity, as though answering her uncertainty with a voice she cannot consciously hear. Some enthusiasts argue the anomaly is simply water noise or wind interference, warped through analog tape. Others believe it's an early attempt at subliminal sound design, intentionally hidden but never acknowledged. The effect is profoundly unsettling. The whisper feels less like an external presence and more like Jessica's thoughts given form, speaking from beneath the film's fragile psychological surface. In a story about losing trust in one's senses, Let's Scare Jessica to Death offers a backward message that feels dangerously intimate, an echo from a mind slipping between clarity and the void. If you've followed us this far into the static and the whispers beneath the reel, remember this: some messages were never meant to be heard forward. If you want to keep exploring the hidden corners of horror, the echoes, the artifacts, the things that breathe behind the soundtrack, consider staying with us. There are more films that speak in the dark, and more voices waiting for someone brave enough to listen.